Your blood pressure isn't about your blood pressure isn't high because of one thing. It's high because three things are pulling on it at the same time. And if you only fix one, the other two will drag it back up. I've spent 20 years as an ICU and ER nurse watching this play out on monitors every single shift. So in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to give you the exact triangle behind almost every blood pressure number that won't budge and what to do about each corner. I call it the blood pressure triangle. It's three corners: stress, sugar, and sodium. Doctors treat these three as three separate conversations. They talk about stress, they talk about diet, they talk about cutting the salt, but your body doesn't experience them separately. They converge in the same blood vessels, the same hormones, the same pressure switch. So stick around because corner three is the one almost nobody explains correctly, including most of the pamphlets that you're handed in a waiting room. Let's start at corner one. Every time you're stressed, a deadline, an argument, doom scrolling the news at 11 p.m., your body releases cortisol and adrenaline. And adrenaline clamps down your blood vessels immediately, which is a fight or flight reflex from a time when stress was a physical threat that you run from. Cortisol does something slower and more damaging. It tells your kidneys to hold on to sodium and fluid, raising your blood volume. So higher volume in a clamped down vessel is a formula for higher pressure. Chronic stress means this switch never fully turns off. This isn't fringe theory. Chronic stress is a recognized contributing driver of hypertension, which is why just relax is technically correct advice that almost nobody can act on without a system. Here's what I actually coach people through instead of just relax. First, a 2-minute physiological sigh before you take your blood pressure. Double inhale through your nose, long exhale through the mouth. It's one of the fastest documented ways to manually downshift your nervous system. No app required. Second, protecting one non-negotiable wind down window before bed. Because cortisol that never gets a curfew never gets a chance to reset. Third, and this is the one that most people skip, naming the actual stressor out loud or on paper. Vague stress stays in your body. Named stress starts to leave it. This is one corner of pressure support. It works alongside your provider's plan, not instead of. That's corner one. Corner two is the one people think they've already fixed because they eat pretty healthy. And it's rarely that simple. It's sugar. Sugar spikes insulin. Insulin at high or chronically elevated levels makes your kidneys hold on to sodium. That's the same mechanism cortisol uses in corner one. It also stimulates your sympathetic nervous system directly, tightening your blood vessels. So every time it is elevated, insulin contributes to inflammation in the vessel lining, making the vessels stiffer and less able to relax on command. So stiff vessels mean higher resting pressure, full stop. Picture your blood vessels like a garden hose. Young, flexible hose, pressure moves through fine. But sugar exposure over years is like leaving that hose in the sun for a decade. It gets stiff. Same water flow, higher pressure reading at the nozzle. The fix, though, is never eat sugar again. That promise doesn't survive a birthday party. It's sequencing. Protein and fiber before the sugar hits your plate blunts the insulin spike significantly. A short walk within 30 minutes of a high carb meal does the same thing by pulling glucose into your muscles without needing extra insulin. And swapping your highest frequency sugar exposure, the one you have daily, not the occasional treat, for something with fiber attached does more for insulin stability than cutting dessert twice a year. Small, repeatable swaps beat willpower every time. So swapping small things over those large once or twice a year options. Now, corner 3. This is the one where I actually disagree with the standard advice you've probably been given. So don't skip this part. Corner 3. Everyone's been told cut the salt, but sodium alone isn't the whole story. It's the sodium to potassium ratio that actually drives pressure. You see, your kidneys manage blood pressure through pressure natriuresis. As pressure rises, healthy kidneys excrete more sodium to bring it back down. But when potassium intake is low, that system gets impaired. Your kidneys hold on to sodium less efficiently, and the ratio tips against you, even if total sodium intake looks normal on paper. This is exactly where stress and sugar converge on the same pathway. Cortisol and insulin both push sodium retention, and a poor sodium potassium ratio removes the kidney's ability to correct it. I know it's a lot of information. Just save this video, comment, like, and follow for more. Most people fixate on the salt shaker while walking straight past the produce aisle, which is where the actual lever is. Potassium-rich foods do more for that ratio than obsessively reading sodium labels ever will. Instead of chasing a low sodium number, chase the ratio. Build meals around potassium-rich foods, vegetables, fruits. Then let the sodium fall into place naturally. Watch for sodium sources that don't taste salty, like bread, sauces, processed convenience foods, and things like that. This is one corner of a 3-corner picture. Remember, always talk to your provider when you're making changes, but that's the full triangle. So here's why fixing only one corner never fully works. Stress raises cortisol, which drives sodium retention. Sugar raises insulin, which drives the same sodium retention through a different door. And a poor sodium potassium ratio moves your kidney's ability to correct for either one. So all 3 corners point at the same pressure switch. That's why just cut salt alone so often stalls. You're closing the door on one corner while the other 2 stay wide open. So I've built a 30-day walkthrough that takes you through all 3 corners of this exact triangle. If you're interested in getting your walkthrough 30 days tailored by me to address all 3 doors, comment BP in the comments below, and I'll get that information to you. Remember, genetics writes the recipe, but lifestyle bakes the cake. My name is Joel. Be your own doctor.